Mayor Matt Hicks from Merrimack 24 to our report.
Good afternoon, Senator Deborah Altshuler from District 24, Stratham, Exeter, Greenland Rye, Hampton, Northampton, and Hampton Falls.
Number 4, District 8.
I'm Rick Wyatt, I'm Education in-house, and I'm from Grafton County 5.
Kevin Borelli, representing Tufton Borough and Hospital.
Thank you very much. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from October 21st and November 12th, 2024. And my thanks to Representative Hicks for very good minutes. They are really a lot. So if I can have a motion.
So moved. Move to accept the minutes from October 21st, 2024.
We'll do the total first.
Did you know what you said?
There's about two of them.
Do you want to do them together?
You can just start with the total first.
Okay.
Have a second for that?
Which ones are you doing now?
October 21st.
I'll second those.
Senator Blunt, Representative Biden seconded. All those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Now we have November 12th. Minutes on November 12th.
I move we accept the minutes of November 12, 2024, as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition to them? Great.
Abstain.
Well, that's that you were absent. Representative Cadell was absent from the November 12th one. Now we're back to the report. And I have to say that the changes that we had discussed last time were not put in because we had not taken a formal vote. So we're going to take a formal vote to put those changes in, and we'll go from there.
Do you have a copy of the, could somebody please send or refresh us as to what those changes are?
Well, we talked about, under the recommendations, that first paragraph should belong under program overview. Since there's initial passage in 2021, that section, and then we had, and the Oversight Committee has monitored and discussed the impact of that first paragraph and adding the reference down restricting and putting in the use of AFA funds from religiously based non-public schools and extending the face-up grant provision. Instead of restricting, you wanted to have regulating.
I believe that's what we're talking about. You looking for it in the minutes from last time?
I'm looking for the wording that we had discussed.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it.
Is that one of the minutes? I know we talked about it a couple of times, and I just want to be sure that we have it right. And I don't think we.
Yes, it is in here. It's on the second full page.
It's on the second page where it represents next.
Yeah, not the fifth paragraph now.
On the second page of the.
Yeah, so it starts, that paragraph starts with your name.
Oh, the 11, 12 minutes?
Correct.
So, I guess we need to have that section exactly the way we want it in here. Okay, so we still need to go back through the paragraph and get that thing properly done. So let's look at recommendations for legislative changes. That first paragraph is going to move over to the program overview. And it should read,
Yeah, right, yeah.
since its initial passage in 2021, the legislature and the Oversight Committee has monitored and discussed the impact of, to the EFA program, including both raising and eliminating the income eligibility threshold. Strike out restricting and put in regulating EFA funds from religiously based non-public schools and extending the phase-out grant provision. And then under the added the reference to the meeting minutes footnote. Now, is that in line with what you have, what you want? That paragraph is not going to move from recommendations to program overview. That's what we need to go for.
that sentence one more time, just please, where, I would not agree to the word restricting license for.
So we have to regulate it, it's acceptable.
Okay, but how's that verb used within the entire sentence here?
Since its initial passage in 2021, the legislature and the Oversight Committee has monitored and discussed the impact of the several changes to the EFA program, including both raising and eliminating the income eligibility thresholds. Strike out the restricting and put in regulating EFA funds from religiously based non-public schools and extending the phase 1 grant provision.
That sentence goes in the overview section.
Yeah, that was suggested last time, that there really was not a recommendation, it was more part of the history of the program. Should I read this up as well?
A question about the next sentence.
So, are we all in favor of moving that paragraph over to program overview?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion to move it over and a second. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor of moving that paragraph from recommendations to program overview? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, objections? Shaking your head.
No, so,
Oh, okay. So we have, so that's done. So we have that section moved over here. And I'm looking at the program overview. We have 2001, the New Hampshire General Court. I have added something on top of that. Was there something else that we did? New Hampshire? So I think that section is okay. Then we need to add a reference for the meeting minutes as a footnote to that underneath that page. And then we have the recommendations. One of the recommendations will be review and address the effectiveness and process review and address the effectiveness and process key is key implemented here, the effectiveness and process of the implementation of EFA. And I put a 194-F:5.
think that's what I brought up. It's on in the minutes. It's on the, I don't know which page. It's towards the latter part, 2 pages up. It says, reference statute 94F:5, just to describe the charge of the parent advisory. Recommended that the parent committee meet, take minutes, and provide them to the EFA Funding Oversight Committee. Senator Ochoa reference to memo and agree with Brad's recommendation.
So that will be one of the recommendations, and additional recommendations that they be looked at, and that we expect to get minutes from them. If they review and address. Ready for -F:5 for effectiveness and process. Is that accepted in the, as a recommendation?
Say one more time. Just say one more time. We'll make that way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Review, on the recommendations,
Yes.
review and address 194-F:F for effectiveness and process. That was the parent,
Yes. Parent advisory. Yes.
and we need to take a look at it.
Do you say repeat advice?
Representative Nelly?
They used to note on that, I did put in an LSR, which would include those changes to the advisory committee, as well as a few other changes.
You are putting in a note?
I did last week. Yeah.
To add that,
Yes, that the committee meet on a quarterly basis, take minutes, and provide them to the Oversight Committee, plus chairpersons of House and Senate Education.
okay,
An annual report provided to them.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that Senator Ochoa has suggested that since that is part of the RSA having to do with this EFA program, that that'll be something that we should take a look at.
Fine.
So,
Yeah, I just wanted you to be aware that I was
Okay.
putting that in
okay.
as a legislator.
So can we still put in that on the recommendations that it's something that we should do? Review and address 194-F:5 for effectiveness and process. Okay. So we'll have all those in favor of putting that in?
I
Aye. Now we have that in formal vote. I think those were the 2 changes that we made to the report. So with those changes being put in, the report should be ready to go. Senator, Representative Finelli.
Yes, I would like to request a change in the recommendations, just when it talks about the Supreme Court rulings, to add the full name of the Gonzalez case that's mentioned, but also add the Carson v. Macon Supreme Court decision from Maine. That was their most recent decision on this subject.
Adding that to the recommendations in the report.
Yeah. Gonzalez was, Gonzalez v. Montana Department of Revenue, and the other case was Carson v. Macon.
So how would you like to word that?
Just Gonzalez, and it says Trinity Lutheran and Gonzalez. I would say Gonzalez v. Department of Montana Department of Revenue, and Carson v. Macon.
I'll second the motion.
And we need to have any
Gonzalez v. Montana.
D. Montana.
Yeah, right. First one.
Okay, Gonzalez D. Montana.
And Carson v. Macon.
Department of Revenue.
Montana County Department of Revenue, and
Montana. Department of Revenue. And Carson. And Carson
first.
versus Macon.
Correct.
So after the page that we have N. Gonzalez, you put in versus Montana Department of Revenue, and Carson versus Macon has determined that states may not, and we continue with that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Make it half. This is plural. Those cases half.
Correct.
So you agree with that?
No.
Okay.
Agreed.
So we have a motion to put it in, and I have a second to put it in. Discussion. Go ahead.
Just don't,
Okay.
thank you.
So this will be the majority report, so the ones who will want that put in, I need a vote. Yes. Yes. Representative Hicks? What?
If you go ahead, I'll leave it up now.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
No,
No, okay. So there's 3, 2, 2, okay. Now we're going to the regular report. Are we done with the report at this point? So that's my representative.
Yeah, just, I apologize for not being here at the last meeting, but I would not agree with the extension of the phase-out grants.
You will not agree with the decision to,
Right.
Either to extend.
To extend the phase-out grants.
okay, my hearing must be extremely bad today, because I cannot, there's something you don't agree to.
Right, the extension of the phase-out grants in that last paragraph in the recommendations. Right, right.
So we talked about the paragraph that we just finished.
Right. The next paragraph is about the phase-out grants.
May not limit educational funding programs, non-religious schools if they are available to non-religious, non-public schools.
Right, that's fine. I agree
You
with
want
that.
that in?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the next paragraph to recommend extension of the phase-out grants. I would be a no on that recommendation.
We do not recommend extension of the phase-out grants.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on it?
Yes. We had a lengthy discussion on this in the House. And when we sent the bill over, we had it so the extensions would phase out in accordance with law that's already on the books.
So is the rest of the thing okay? So we talked about the recommended extension of the phase-out program. We're talking about the kids leaving the public school, and the school is reimbursed 100% of the tuition the first year, 50 the second year, and 25 the third year.
Correct.
And you do not want to extend that,
Correct.
okay?
And there is a date where this all stops.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. 2026.
Senator Altshuler, Representative Hicks, how do you feel about the extension of the grant? Should it be put in or not? Should we
Yes,
extend?
yes, we, in the last meeting, we discussed discuss recommending extension of the phase-out grants.
Okay,
So, I'm not,
so you want
I'm not
that?
changing my mind on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so what is the objection to extending it? Is it one more time or extending it again?
From the beginning, the phase-out grants, something I put into the original legislation to provide a pathway and ease any impact to local school districts, public school districts. I think that since 2021, we've had now 3 or now 4 years of phase-out grants. I think that that is sufficient. The school districts have an idea, in most school districts, it's very few students are leaving. So I think that the program of phase-out grants is no longer needed.
Well, it has been extended once, so it seems, but I think when we first discussed it, it seemed to me that we talked about the 3 years should be sufficient time for schools to get adjusted to losing 1 or 2 children to another form of education. And that has not been extended once more. And what you're saying is that there really is no need to keep extending it because it should by now have been able to make changes to how things are done.
Correct. And so with the current expiration in 2026, I think that's sufficient and needs not to be extended further.
So we can just say, we would not recommend extension of the phase-out grant provision. Could have been set to expire as 2026.
That would be my recommendation. I'm not sure about the rest of the committee, but that would be mine.
Okay. Representative Ladd?
Yeah, we've had similar type situations in other aspects of school funding. We've had stabilization, which has gone on and on and on. And when we had a study done back in 2018 and the Umberger report, everybody concurred stabilization's got to go on board. Even the commission has studied this later on subsequently and has recommended we should not have stabilization. Hold harmless is also going to disappear here. And that's going to be something that an area of the funding formula which districts are going to have to be aware of. And I believe the Department of Education has been working with school superintendents to make them aware that they're going to lose their hold harmless over the next 5 quarters or 5 years. And so, or over the next 10 years, so over the next 5 bienniums, by the time we get to that last biennium, there will be no more hold harmless. And so I think it's time to stay with these time frames and to have school districts starting to look at that. And basically it's a measure of accountability. It's also a measure of how we're using our dollars locally. Those prioritizations and those determinations have to be made.
Okay. So then the next sentence got just eliminated. Explanation of what that extension is. So we would not recommend extension of the phase-out grant provision currently set to expire in 2026 and leave it at that. Any further discussion of that? Okay, the vote on that change?
He made the motion.
Yes.
Second.
Second, okay. Cadella made the motion, Ladd seconded the thing, and I voted for it. Senator Marshall,
No.
and Representative Hicks.
No.
Okay, so that's 3-2. And Stacy, any other changes that we need to make in the report?
What was that vote again? It was 3-2 to, the vote was 3-2
Yes.
to stay as is?
Yes.
Stay as is, okay.
We were not recommending such.
Oh, okay. So we changed to not recommend.
Right.
Okay,
And the rest of that, the second sentence is taken out.
thank you.
So as far as I'm concerned, the report that's going to go out is now done. And we will put these changes in, and you will see a copy of it, and you can sign off. And the senator also, I know, has a minority report that she wants to put in. Do you want to discuss your minority report?
I put forward, in the interest of finding comedy and consensus, I put forward all of our recommendations, and
Okay.
you did not celebrate them in the way that I had hoped you would.
Yeah, I think we have we have done a lot, and yet we have an awful lot more to be done. And I think that depending on what happens next year, who's on the committee, what issues we have, we can add a lot and begin to look at other things as well. We certainly obviously need to look at some things. Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
any chance of getting that report from October 23rd?
Yes, I emailed back Aaron, I'm sorry, I just got his email,
So everyone has the report?
and I can give you a redacted report, meaning no student or family PII in it, by end of business tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll email that to you immediately.
So can that then be part of, or the things that be included in the report?
Yeah, absolutely, we'll just make sure that there's no identifying information
Okay.
for you. And we can also send you the respondents to the appellants as well.
Good. Any other business? I'm not gonna set a next meeting date, because like I said, I don't know who's gonna be on the committee and what kinds of time constraints we have, but Representative Pinelli.
I think if I could just mention two follow-up things. Again, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, but there had been discussion about religious schools in previous meeting, and I just wanted to mention that it is my information that the Catholic schools in New Hampshire, the EFA students make up 8.7% of their enrollment. And just on a side note, 40% of the children in the Catholic schools are not Catholic. And I then went to NAEP, the National Education Report, and they have information nationally on public schools versus private Catholic schools. And if I could just mention, this is 2022 NAEP scores for fourth grade mathematics. For public schools, it's 35% proficient. Catholic schools, it's 46%. And in the 8th grade, for public schools, it's 26%. And in Catholic schools, it's 37%. Then in English, in reading, in the 4th grade, it's 32% proficient for public schools and 47% in Catholic schools. And in the 8th grade, it's 29% in public schools and 51% proficient in Catholic schools.
Good. Thank you very much. Any other business that we need to bring forth?
Yes, thank you. We will, Representative Hicks and I have been conferring after the last meeting when we realized that the committee was not interested in putting forward a consensus report. So we have been compiling a report as a minority report to add to this, and we'll be bringing that forward before the deadline. So we'll make the deadline and want to, again, point out that private schools, religious schools, can turn away any student that they don't want in their school. While some religious schools profess to accept students who are not members of their religion, the fact of the matter is they still have the opportunity and exercise their right to pick and choose and cherry pick their student population. They're not obliged to meet a child's special education needs. They're not obliged to meet a child's behavioral needs, should that also arise. And in fact, can remove and do remove students from their population. This is not what public schools do. We, as a state, take all students who come through the door. We take them any way that they come in. And we continue to offer brick and mortar public schools at the local, in people's neighborhoods. We continue to offer public charter schools, and we continue to offer the virtual learning academy for K through 12. And all students in New Hampshire have those available to them. The private schools don't have to and don't take anybody who would like to go there. Just want to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could follow up to that.
Representative Bell.
Thank you. I've heard that argument before, but it's not entirely accurate. If you look at the current open enrollment school statute, open enrollment schools do not have to take every student. Students who get manifest education hardship, I know personally, have been denied access to neighboring public school districts. So I don't think it's entirely accurate to say that public schools have to accept every student. And in addition, special needs students are sometimes placed in resident districts, even out of state. So we could argue whether they are actually accepted or not in the public school. So I think that is the alternative to public schools accept every child who comes in the door.
And I'd like to also, we've had this discussion on the Education Committee in the House numerous times. When we're talking about tuition programs, like K through 8, for example, then has to tuition their students in grades 9 through 12 out. There have been districts, and there are districts, where they may have 5 receiving schools that they tuition to A, B, C, D, and E. D and E may be high schools. E may say, no, we're going to take this student right here, this type. As long as there's an anchor school that would take all students, then that school district that's sending is on firm soil. And so to say that public schools do not sometimes scrutinize their students or set up limits of who's coming in and who's not coming in, that's not the case. Because it does occur in this state where there are some situations in tuition programs where the receiving school will not take that type of student.
Thank you. Any further discussion, addition? Then, do we have other business that needs to be covered? If not, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
First, I'd like to say I hope everybody here has a pleasant and rewarding Thanksgiving with family and friends.
Thank you. And I want to express my appreciation for the 5 people on this committee. We have had a lot of work to do. We have a lot of research, questions, phone calls, back and forth discussion, and I think it all helps at the end to get a broader view of what education is all about, because at the end, we're looking after our kids, for them to have the best possible education